On this episode, we talk with my buddy Rhett Feltman, who lives out in Colorado. He's lived out in Colorado his entire life. He's full of Colorado knowledge from elk hunting to trout fishing. And I guess I first met Rhett online. Started seeing a ton of his pictures he was posting, and he actually bought a hat from our brand Lifestyle Lost that some of you may know Dustin and I from, and started posting pictures of all these huge fish that he was catching in this hat. And I kept telling myself, man, I got to get out to Colorado and do some fishing. Well, that time finally came. I actually was going to Wyoming for a work trip, and I conveniently decided to stay for the weekend. And Rhett was, he was nice enough to bring me and my good buddy Jacob out on his boat. We drove up to the mountains, up to about 8,700 feet, which is way up there for somebody like me, being from Michigan. And it's a beautiful place. We talk about the exact location in the episode. You can see the Continental Divide on one end of the lake, surrounded by mountains on all sides. Absolutely beautiful day. Sunny. The day went from cold to hot. Just a huge difference from anything that you're used to fishing in the Midwest if you're from the Midwest. And the fishing there is absolutely amazing. I think the average size of the fish that we were catching was about 18 inches, which for a trout is a very good sized trout. It's bigger than many trout that any people have ever caught. I mean, I haven't caught all that many trout over 18 inches unless you're counting like steelhead here in Michigan. And I caught my very first cutbow out there. That was 22 inches. A huge fish in Michigan. So I was extremely pumped about that, extremely grateful for the opportunity. It was a ton of fun. We fished all morning. I actually only landed one fish. I lost a ton of fish. Jacob by far caught way more than any of us. Rhett also caught a monster pike. It was only 30 inches, I'll say. Because it's actually not that big for this lake, but it was it looked much bigger than that in a picture. Great fish. So we talk about in this podcast that day of fishing, where we fished, what we used, as well as a little bit of just different types of fishing you can do in Colorado, different experiences you can have, what to watch out for from things like weather to snakes, dehydration. So if you're planning on going to Colorado, or maybe you've never thought about going to Colorado, this will give you a great insight into the different opportunities that are there and some of the great fishing and places you can go and things you can catch. It's good info. I hope you like it, and we'll get going here now. I saw you've been out fishing a little bit since I was out there Saturday.
Yeah, and yep, fishing's been good too. I mean, of course, the day that you came out, it was high pressure, blue skies, no clouds, and historically for me, and I bet a ton of other people, that's just not good fishing. But I mean, we got on a few fish, and it was a good day, and we did what we could. But I mean, I wish you could come out here one of these days when it's a little windier, some clouds, and man, those trout just go crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't a bad day, that's for sure.
Yeah,
We did
no matter,
we
no
did
matter how
plenty
you
good.
cut it, you're still up in the mountains. You're still got killer views, and
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And
yeah,
catching a 22, almost 22 and a half inch cut bow for my first cut bow, um, that I can't be disappointed about. That's
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
big trout anywhere.
yeah. And those are cool. I don't know if that's something you guys really get out there, but for
Not
us,
not any of the cutties. Lots of rainbows, lots of steelhead. No
yeah.
no cutthroat at all.
And see those the cut bows, they kind of started out. We used to have a decent population of Snake River cutthroat, which are native up towards Wyoming and around Yellowstone and stuff. And throughout the years, I mean, just the native, the natural cutthroat, they've just bred down with the rainbows, and it's just kind of muddled down the bloodline, and kind of in a good way almost. If you forget the fact that you're ruining a pure cutthroat, so to speak, because they grow fast, they fight hard, and they grow faster than the rainbows do, and it's kind of something that we get that's a little unique to this area. It seems like is not just rainbows, but we get the cutbows too that are really awesome to fish for. They're my favorite to catch.
They
You
fight
know,
like crazy, that's for sure.
yeah, and it's there like you guys were saying while you're out here. It's almost like a steelhead. From what I can see, I've never caught one, but it's long runs, light line,
Yeah.
you know, playing the fish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they fight just as hard, if not honestly, if not harder than a steelhead. A lot of the steelhead, you'll get some really big long runs out of them, but they don't necessarily just go crazy the whole time. They more, you know, fight really hard and then you reel them in and then they fight really hard again. Those fish seem to, they didn't really stop. They're just nonstop. I mean, I
Yeah,
I hooked probably four, I think, like that I actually fought. I had a lot more like on for just a second, but they're uh, they're good at shaking a hook. That's for sure. We
yeah,
lost we
yeah,
lost more than we caught.
yeah. How many of those just took big runs and buried you down in the weeds and stuff?
Yeah, yeah, they know how to use their surroundings for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that they're in a stillwater lake and they don't got any current to use against you is pretty impressive too.
Yeah, that is actually what I was pretty impressed about because they still fought incredibly hard. So something I'll do here in the summertime is we'll go and we'll fish out off the piers on Lake Michigan and get some steelhead that way. And the fight is just noticeably less when you're out there in the big lake for some reason,
Yeah,
because they don't have that river to use their advantage. In the river, you know, they fight hard, but they also are smart and use that current to get away as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that lake that we were fishing in, we caught all rainbows and cutbows, I think. But you said there are browns in that lake as well, right?
Yeah, actually, when I was out on this last Monday, I got a 21-inch brown out of there. Nice male, super beautiful. They almost get that like silver sheen to them a little bit, like out of the Great Lakes and stuff, just being landlocked. But yeah, there's browns in there. There's still, from what I hear, I've never caught one, but there's still the occasional unicorn, Snake River cutthroat purebred that has somehow made its way. And I guess there's still a few of those, but for the most part, we just got a lot of rainbows, cutbows, and brown trout, which seem to be, in my short couple year experience on it, like seem to be more prevalent than they were when I first started going out there. I don't know what it may be, but it seems like they're kind of coming around.
Do they stock both in that lake still, or do they just stock
Uh,
the
they just
rainbows?
stock the rainbows, and I don't, I, I don't think they stock browns at all. Um, I could actually pull up a little bit of stocking stuff on that lake, but I don't think they've stocked browns in there for quite a while.
Okay, so they're it's I mean it is on a river system. What is the name of the river or lake system that or the area that that's in?
So it's the South Platte River, um, which headwaters were kind of up on the Cottonelle Divide and stuff. But they come down. The first lake they hit is in Taro Reservoir. That's the one that I was telling you has just amazing growth on trout and has been having some issues with the dam and been drained and filled and drained and filled a couple times now. But so it comes down, starts the first lake it hits is Antero, and then from the outflow of Antero, it goes I don't know, maybe 10, 15 miles, and then it hits Spinney Mountain, which is the one we were at. Um, and then from Spinney Mountain, uh, outflow of that goes a few miles into 11 Mile Reservoir. And that stretch of river in particular, the Charlie Myers State Wildlife Area is what it's called, but we also call it the Dream Stream. From the inlet of 11 Mile to the outflow of Spinney is just renowned for big trout, healthy hatches, just the whole 9 yards. Come fall, we get amazing brown trout runs. In the spring, we get kokanee runs in the fall too, which is landlocked sockeye for us. But um, that's just an amazing, amazing stretch of river right there into 11 Mile, and then you can't chalk off 11 Mile because 11 Mile is huge. It has lots of weed flats, amazing pike, trout, brown trout, kokanee, and then actually from there it flows east more into Cheeseman Reservoir, and then it flows from Cheeseman down into Denver, through Denver, and out to all the plains. So it's really a big kind of irrigation system. We have a lot of water rights out here. Everything's a reservoir. All our water belongs to somebody else.
Yeah.
And
That's one thing we don't have as much of an issue with here in Michigan. Everything's water. There's water everywhere.
yeah,
We were at, what was the elevation? Like 8,500 feet? And we were,
I want to say 83 or 84
okay, but they're
at
pretty
that.
far up there. I mean, for being in the valley, to give people listening an idea, so we're in a valley, but you can't really tell because you're looking up at huge mountains. You have the Continental Divide to, that would be the east, and you've got huge mountains that are, I don't know, probably 12,000 foot tall above tree line. It's it's crazy to think that you're on a lake and you're really what, like 3 to 4 thousand feet above Denver even.
Yeah, I actually just pulled it up on Google Earth, and that lake sits at 8,700 feet almost.
Wow.
And yeah, I think I was telling you, it's like a high mountain plateau in that whole area. So it's just, a big old expansive flat, but on all surrounding edges of the flat are anywhere, yeah, from the 12,000 foot peaks to, you know, 10,000 feet on the other side. It's just this um, huge mountain system that just surrounds this big valley almost that, gets used for hay and, some agriculture stuff, but not a lot. But,
There's some
but yeah,
buffalo out there.
yeah, buffalo, and in the winter there's just massive elk herds that just come down from all the mountains.
Yeah, really cool area. Definitely very, very different than anywhere I've ever fished before. And that to me, I mean, fishing is much about going new places and checking things out and having different experiences than it is just catching fish. So that was pretty awesome. My buddy Jacob, one of my best friends that I grew up with, I've known him since I was 6. He was with us as well, and he definitely outfished both of us. He's got kind of a reputation for that now. That's twice I've taken him out. Once was on a guided fishing trip he wasn't even supposed to be on, and he outfished me on that by quite a bit too. So he might be done getting these special invites. I don't like getting outfished.
Well, I gotta say, I gotta thank him because what he was catching those fish on, I never would have had confidence in throwing, and honestly opened my eyes to a new presentation or a new way to approach fish on those days that it's just absolutely flat, calm, and no activity. Nothing wants to move, and and what was that? Just a normal Senko?
Yep, just a normal Cinco. But you know, I thought about that just because, I mean, really what we were doing is more like bass fishing for trout. Here in Michigan, if you're trout fishing, they don't really stock any. I shouldn't say any, but most of our lakes don't have trout in them. The Great Lakes do, but they might be in 150 feet of water. So It's not easy for anybody to just go out there and fish for them. You
Yeah.
know, mainly we're fishing in rivers. This was, I mean, honestly, a lot more like bass fishing in terms of what the lake looked like. You know, a lot of weed structure and drop offs, and that's really what we were targeting. And like you said, it was a super calm, sunny day, and we were getting a lot of follows, and they just weren't committing. Um, and I think that subtle presentation of the Cincos, I mean, they were eating it up. I had several bite that I couldn't hook, and he caught at least three or four on Cincos after he switched to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was impressive. I was kind of in denial for a minute, but yeah, it is totally similar to bass fishing. I mean, those weeds, you'll be in 20 feet of water and they'll come up within 3, 4 feet of the surface sometimes, and that's in deep water. And once we got into that shallow water and like 10 or less feet, it was constant, like either plucking weeds off your hook or you're sight fishing to pockets of weeds and trying to maneuver it through them and around them in ways that it is really similar to bass fishing. And I know a few people up there they do that are actually serious bass fishermen, and they go up there, and I would assume they use pretty much the same techniques. I
Yeah,
mean, we use tube jigs a lot. I mean, there's a lot of like natural nymphs and dry flies, normal, small bug hatches that go on in that lake, but there's also a ton of crawdads, and it seems like those bigger trout, they definitely like to chase after that little bit bigger of a meal, and in that sense, it kind of crosses over into that bass fishing a little more.
yeah, it was fun, and they fight a heck of a lot harder than a bass does, pound for
Yeah,
pound. That's for sure.
yeah. What those little, I mean, little to me, I mean, we get kind of spoiled out here as far as like our standard, trout goes. But the ones that Jake was getting, like 16, 18 inches, that fish was taking 3, 4, 5 minutes to get in just because it was running and just
Oh
going on
yeah,
all these crazy runs. And that was on a slow day, and they get fired up, man. It's intense. It's hard.
probably come home with a sore arm in that lake on a good day.
You could, for sure.
Um, the growth rate on that lake, I can't remember exactly what you told me, but it's pretty crazy. You said they stock them around like 10 inches, and how much can they grow in a year?
um, I don't know the exact number, but what I can say is, we were catching. They stock them 8 to 10 inches, and that's to help them escape the pike that are in there. Give them a little bit more of a fighting chance. And they do that in the fall, like once it ices up or right before ice off or ice on, and then they do it in the spring um, before the ice melts or right after it melts. And when they do that, it's usually 8 to 10 inches. And by the end of the year, this time of year, you don't catch anything that's under 16 inches. So it's like they they pack on this little football shape to them, and some inches in that first year for sure. And I would give it anywhere from like probably 3 to 6 inches a year in growth, just in their first year. And yeah, they may be a year or two old being at 8 inches, but just in that first year, they jump to that 18 to 20 inch mark real quick.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, there's a lot of guys in Michigan that have trout fished for a long time and never caught a 20-inch trout. And if they wanted to get a few under their belt, I'd highly recommend checking out some lake fishing in Colorado because it. I mean, I've been looking at your pictures for like a year now, and it's it's pretty impressive. I was surprised because a lot of people post big pictures of trout, but there's not a lot of places people are actually catching them that consistently. You know, you're only seeing the big ones that they catch.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
I mean, we at the end of the day, we're putting 17, 18-inch trout back and not even taking pictures of
yeah, yeah,
them. that's
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's and like I say, we kind of get spoiled out here in a sense that it's like, that's just another 18-inch trout. Like personally, I don't start freaking out until they hit like 24 and up is kind of the class that's almost hard to find around here is that, and that's kind of where they gear some of our master angler awards around is that 22 to 24 inch range. Um, but even at that, it's like it's not that far of a stretch to get one that big. We
Right.
just have such a good environment for them usually, and yeah, there are some lakes that they put them in that they really shouldn't be in, and they have no business being in, and they don't do as well. But the ones that they do good in is you'd be amazed at the quality of fishing you can get out here.
Yeah. Our Master Angler Awards are kind of skewed too, but in a different way because since we have the Great Lakes, the fish can get very, very big there, but they also are kind of hard to catch because it's just so big and there's no structure. Like you can drive 5 miles on Lake Michigan and never come to any structure at all because it's just a gradual sand bowl basically. Drops off really slow and goes down and comes back up on the other side. So they're literally just hanging in the water column, chasing bait fish, and there's a lot of bait fish, so they get really big. But our master angler award, I think for a brown trout is 30 inches, and I think for a steelhead is 32.
Wow.
So I mean, if you're a small stream fisherman, or even an inland river fisherman where it's a dam system and they can't get over those dams, you'll probably never catch a 30-inch brown. You could, but most people never will.
Yeah.
Um, so it's I almost wish they could classify it two different ways, but then how do you tell where someone caught a fish? I guess.
Yeah.
Not that it matters if you get an award, but it's fun to say you did.
Yeah, exactly. I've never put in for one, but I definitely keep a mental tally
Yeah,
of the ones I
exactly.
got.
I haven't either. And sometimes I don't know if I would because you have to give location, and they post that location on online. I'm pretty sure. So I'm not always comfortable in sharing some of my best spots, especially the really small rivers, because some of like the brook trout rivers I fish in the UP, you can jump across them, and you get a bunch of people fishing the same river, and they can get overpressured pretty quick.
Yeah.
The dam system that we were on there, can the trout get through the dams? Are there fish ladders?
No, that's not something that I think, have anywhere out here.
Okay.
Um, we just, yeah, they come out of 11 Mile, and they come at like 2, 3 miles, and then they get stopped by the dam, and you can't fish that immediate, I think 100 yards or so below the outflow, and I just know there's monsters that just get stacked up in there in the fall.
Oh yeah.
But you just can't get to them. They weasel their way up and through the river when they know they can, and they're smart too, and but
Yeah.
but yeah, they don't really do anything for migration of fish or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense because they're not really huge migratory fish. I mean, most trout will migrate a little bit, but not like the steelhead and salmon. That's really what they do it for here is the salmon and steelhead.
Yeah.
You guys do have some species of salmon out there in some lakes too, right?
Yeah, kokanee salmon, which is a landlocked sockeye, and our state record is, I believe, like 6 or 7 pounds. They don't get very big. They're a 4-year fish. They cycle every 4 years, and they feed on like phytoplankton and mysis shrimp, which are pretty microscopic themselves. And a lot of our lakes don't have necessarily like the depth required to maintain like the proper water temperature and stuff for salmon. But we do have a few lakes out here that just have amazing kokanee salmon fishing, like Blue Mesa Reservoir, which is pretty far out west, but it's our biggest reservoir in the state. Um, but yeah, we do have a little bit of salmon. A lot of times they're like there's actually this lake up by my house, not too far, that has salmon. But a 4-year-old fish is only 14 inches,
Yeah.
so it's not really. I don't know how to put it. It's not really like a reasonable resource to try and tap into sometimes. Um, Even though it is there, a lot of times in these lakes, the kokanee salmon are more of a bait fish and a forage fish for lake trout than anything. Not a ton of people go after them, but we definitely value them for the quality of lake trout fishing they give us.
Are are lake trout native to Colorado?
I don't think so. No.
I know you said cutthroat are. I'm always interested in what's native and what's not native, and technically we don't have any native trout in Michigan because even a lake trout and brook trout, which are native here, technically are char and not trout, which
Yeah, yeah.
is a small
Uh,
difference. But
and I think as far as like native trout for sure. The greenback cutthroat trout, which is just a subspecies of the cutthroat family. Those are definitely 100% ours. I don't think any other state has greenbacks that are native for sure. Um, but other than that, I mean, I think rainbow trout are only native to like Idaho. Um, and brown trout, of course, come from Europe. And
yeah,
there's a lot of manipulation and stuff, good or bad, but that goes into making these fisheries out here. 'Cause like I said, a lot of our lakes are reservoirs and just man-made water structures, and so I guess a lot goes into our parks and wildlife as far as stocking and maintaining.
oh yeah. I mean, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize. I certainly didn't. Even in Michigan, brook trout are native, but there are actually very few rivers that they were originally native to. We used to have a species of grayling here, which we don't have anymore because of all the logging they did, and then planting a more aggressive trout species has completely wiped them out, and they've been gone since I believe the late 1800s, early 1900s. And there's been a couple different times they've tried to reintroduce them, and they're going to try again. But the rivers have changed so much from their natural habitat that they really can't live here. And they've planted, browns and brook trout all over the state. Most of the brook trout are found farther north, but you can find them down even as far south as I am if you know where to look. But yeah, a lot of people, they have a preference towards species of fish because they think they're better. But like brown trout, for example, are not native, and some people prefer brown trout and think we should manage more for brown trout. But it's really just up to what you like more a lot of times, and it's not really a right or wrong type of thing.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Out here, uh, there's a portion of the population that thinks, you know, we have what it takes to make trophy trout lakes and trophy trout streams and stuff like that. That we should direct all of our attention towards, trout. And then there's the other side of the fence where it's like the pike in that lake. With the trout, we have opportunity for amazing trophy pike fishing.
Yeah,
Um, but it's just that balance between, almost like supply and demand. More people come to Colorado to go trout fishing, on their vacations and all that stuff than they do anything else. But um, so a lot of our stocking's kind of geared towards that. But we also have awesome warm water species like down in Denver. I'm sure while you were down there, you were burning up. It was probably 90 degrees down there.
It was like 90, 92.
Yeah, I mean, and with that, we do have some really good bass lakes and stuff like that. Even though our growing season is a little shorter with our freeze and stuff, but we really have a pretty diverse fishery. Whether you want to go west or east or north or south, you can get into a little bit of everything. And there's always that argument of what should be priority and stuff. But it does come down to the person and what you want to chase. And and luckily there is a little bit of everything around here.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I do get the side of the DNR is going to want to manage for what's going to draw people in because they pay for all their funding with licenses, and they got to give people what they want to some extent too, I guess. But yeah, you were talking about the growth rates of the pike and that trout, and the one you caught I think was 30 inches. But man, by looking at the picture of it, you'd have thought it was closer to 40, just because they're like tree trunks. They're huge, probably because they're eating those huge trout. But
Yeah.
I don't see why anybody be disappointed to catch one of those. That's for sure. But I guess they could eat quite a few as well. You said there's a lot of people there that have some pretty aggressive tactics, I guess, towards pike, and will keep all of them. Do they have limits, like size limits or bag limits, or creel limits, I guess you should call them?
I can only think of one lake that protects them, and they have like a 26-inch to 32-inch mandatory release on them. But even at that, the state has a statewide um, unlimited keep on them. So they don't want them. There's besides the one lake, and that's not the lake we were at. That lake that we were at, they you know they want people to keep them. They want even. I've heard stories of wardens telling people, kill them all, keep them all, even if you don't eat them, just throw them overboard, which is kind of bad, but
Yeah, I can't agree with that. There's there's lakes that we have here that you can keep as many as you want. Typically, most lakes it's a 24-inch limit for a pike, and it almost makes me curious knowing there's so many people that just want all of them gone out there, but yet you have a good number of them and some really big ones. Maybe there's more of a balance in between those two extremes of letting them all get to 24 inches and killing all of them that could manage them a little bit better if you did
yeah,
want pike, which I like pike. I used to do a lot of pike fishing. I don't as much anymore just because I don't know any great areas for it here. I'm sure there are some. I just haven't looked.
yeah. Well, and the thing out here is there's only really a handful of lakes that have them. Other than that, it's all walleye, trout, bass, lake trout. But there's only a few lakes that have them, so it's like kind of the standpoint of why can't we just keep one as a good pike fishery
Right.
and forget about the trout? But kind of as you're saying with the balance thing, they they do keep themselves in check out here. The big ones eat the little ones, and they produce in populations that are meant to support themselves as far as dietary requirements. They do actually digest the, their own species easier than they digest trout and stuff because they're the same protein.
Hmm.
They break down easier. So it's almost to the point where we need to protect the big pike, if anything, just to keep all the little ones in check that they are worried about overpopulated and taking over stuff. And honestly, the only way to do that is either completely kill a lake or set a predatory balance that keeps them in check. And I think we're getting kind of lost as far as where we should keep that balance out here. Not to get down that road too much, but
Yeah. Yeah. We could talk about what we think is right all night there, as we're
yeah,
part-time biologists.
yeah, exactly. It's like at the end of the day, no one knows what's best for anything. It's just keep going on with your life and
Yeah,
do what you can.
absolutely. Well, maybe they'll at some point put like a anything over 40 inch has to be released. That would be cool because then you know those big trout are getting an opportunity to keep growing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You're native from Colorado. I we'll call it that because we're talking about native trout species. You're
Yeah.
born there, or were you born somewhere else?
No, I was born in Denver. Raised mostly in the mountains and stuff, thankfully, but
Yeah.
definitely from Denver. And it's funny because we do actually refer to people as natives out here now that there's so many transplants as we refer to them.
Right.
But now that our population has just expanded so ridiculous, natives are actually almost hard to find sometimes.
Yeah. When I was there, I feel like most of the people that I talked to were not originally from Colorado. But with something crazy like 10,000 people a month moving to the Denver area, it's kind of not hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just today I was talking to some people at work about housing, and pretty soon, if things fall through where me and a couple of these other people are at now, we're going to be forced to move out of state, whether we like it or not, just because things have gotten so pricey out here just from demand. I mean, they can't build enough houses. Places that I grew up, as long as I could remember, were open fields are now freaking housing developments, and which is all good and well. It's stuff that's going to happen no matter what, but it's just crazy to see it happen in such a short amount of time, and in turn force a lot of people out of the state that they really like. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of catch 22. I don't know. It's kind of like the fish management thing. It's you're never gonna see it go perfect, but things are going good. Our economy is doing great. Um, stuff like that. There's always a balance. There's always something to do. You can always go somewhere and meet people, but
Well, you're
at the
not too
same
far
time,
away from Wyoming either, the least populated state. So you could always just jump across the border there.
oh yeah, it's funny because Wyoming people don't like Colorado people.
Nobody ever likes their neighboring states. We hate Ohio and Indiana for some reason.
Yep, exactly.
No logical reasons other than maybe sports teams or things we make up. But you always have to talk crap about the people next to you because it makes you feel better. I think.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm jealous of Wyoming. They got it made up there. They got like what, like I don't know what their population is, but it's ridiculously low. Like the population of Denver exceeds the whole population of Wyoming.
Yeah, I think they have the least people per square mile in the U.S.
Yeah,
That's what I heard. That that's a place I could live. Uh,
yeah, yeah. You could go get lost up there for sure.
yeah, they've got grizzly bears and real wild things to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I was wondering about when I was out there, I mean, I know you guys have snakes, but what do you have to worry about? Like, say you're out doing some fishing on a river, um, what snakes do you have to worry about, and where might you find those?
So it's pretty crazy out here in Colorado. We don't have to worry about much of nothing. Um, the snakes, we do have rattlesnakes, but I think they have like an elevation cutoff where they don't really do well afterwards. And that's not really that far outside of Denver. Um,
Okay.
it's like I think maybe 7,000 feet, and they're done. And then from that point on, we have blue racers, which are just, from what I understand, just like kind of a variation of a gardener snake, non-venomous, nothing to be concerned about. Um,
But aggressive, though.
uh, I don't think they are actually. I think every time I've seen one, they're just scurrying through the grass away from me.
There, we have them here, and they will chase you. I mean, we came across one turkey hunting in the spring, and I was trying to get close to it to get a good picture, and I mean, it chased me a good 10, 15 yards before it turned around and went back down in its hole.
Oh dang.
I mean, like you said, they're not venomous. They can't hurt you, but
Yeah. Um,
there is a reason they're called that, I guess.
yeah. And I mean, I guess we have some bull snakes too, but I mean, those are usually down low, river bottoms and stuff like that. And like bears, we don't have grizzly bears anymore. We don't have wolves. I mean, there are wolves in the state. I don't care what anybody says. There's some wolves in that northwest part of the state. I swear on my life, I've found tracks of them kind of up by where you're actually talking about going elk hunting this year. Um, but I mean, it's nothing to be concerned about. We don't have grizzlies. We don't have a reasonable population of wolves. And other than that, mountain lions, I guess, are the only thing that really people are kind of get concerned about out here. And even at that, that's just walking into the woods into pretty secluded areas because they're pretty shy creature themselves. But I
Right.
mean, out here we're kind of the head honcho. We don't have to worry about a lot. You know, we get irritated with mosquitoes and complain about that when in reality we could have to pack in with a 12 gauge shotgun like Alaska and watch our back every 10 seconds, you know. But
Yeah.
you know, it's wild out here, but you know, there's not really a lot of that danger aspect um, to the wild. So you know, it's nice in a sense, but you know, because you know, you can go out here and be comfortable. You know, you can go on a hike and you don't got to worry about bear spray. You know,
That's nice. We
yeah,
it's very similar here. We have black bears. We do actually have a like a Michigan rattlesnake that's you don't I've never seen one in my life, and they're actually very venomous, but they don't have that much venom. But the one thing that I do worry about in strange places is snakes. You know, for the most part, bears, mountain lions, they don't actually concern me. You know, maybe I'll think about it a little bit, but poisonous snakes are nothing to mess with. So it's good to hear that they're not going to be up in the elevation ranges that we're elk hunting in, because that that could ruin a trip real quick.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And even at that, I think we have like some venomous spiders. Like you know, I've seen black widows and stuff like that, but they just don't do good out here. Most of that stuff is either in your house or like down in the cities where it stays kind of neutrally temperature all year. Up in the mountains, we're kind of lucky. You know, we don't get a lot of that danger stuff. You know, besides you know the four-legged critters, but poisonous stuff. You know, I would I would absolutely lose my brain down in Florida or something like that.
yeah,
You know, I would not be comfortable going anywhere.
yeah, that's kind of how I feel down there. My grandparents have both both my grandparents have a place down there, and I don't venture too far into the bush because one, it's so thick and you can't see anything, and two, there's a lot of stuff down there that could kill you.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you mentioned weather a minute ago. That is definitely some advice that I'd give to people if they're going to go up in the mountains fishing is to take some warm clothes because I think it was 39 degrees. What do we got on the water? 38, 39.
yeah. I think it was 38, and yeah, it gets cold in the mornings and mainly in the mornings this time of year. But yeah, do not be afraid to pack a little extra weight for warmth because our weather turns so quickly up here. Whether it's rain or you know, you might see a snowstorm when you're up here elk hunting. You know, just definitely watch your back with weather for sure. I don't leave my house without checking the weather.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got some pretty crazy weather in Michigan, but I'd have to say that you beat us in terms of what it can do in a day in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, because yeah, it was 38 in the morning and then like maybe 75 to 80 degrees in the afternoon.
I think it was like pushing 80 when we left around noon.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just crazy. Our seasons are so short out here that things just kind of get compacted real quick, and you kind of got to be on it.
Right.
That's whether it's hunting or fishing. You know, you only get a 2 or 3 week window of whatever, specific scenario you're chasing, and then it's gone.
Yep. So speaking of other seasons, that's something I wanted to get into as well. We talked about pike fishing. We talked about some mostly trout fishing in lakes, a little bit on rivers as well. What do your seasons look like in terms of, obviously you can ice fish, but are there, different seasons that are better for certain types of fishing or fishing certain places?
Yeah, for sure. My favorite's fall, of course. I just feel like everything gets ramped up before winter hits, um, but I mean, even if you're not an ice fisherman, a lot of our stuff, almost everything in the mountains, caps up December to January. Um, some of our stuff will freeze over in the metro area, down in low elevation, but not, not all of it. So I mean, you can bass fish, you can walleye fish year round if you wanted to, in open water, and even in the mountains. Since we have all these reservoirs, there's always an outflow of water coming out of these reservoirs. So the tailwaters are actually, some of the tailwaters peak in the wintertime because there's just such stable water temperatures that, um, the trout just absolutely thrive.
Hmm.
And that's a big thing. A lot of people fly fish out here all winter long. Um, they just got to put on a little extra clothing, and it can help too because all the trout get bunched up in these deep pools trying to save energy, and um, especially these tailwaters. A lot of these lakes have mysis shrimp in them, and so the tailwaters will actually push out the shrimp from the bottom of the lake, and so the tailwaters, a lot of these lakes are really just awesome fishing if you know how to do it. Really small flies and stuff, but uh, you can do whatever you want any time of year. Sometimes people are ice fishing in September up on, above timberline and stuff, and those are the diehard people that hike 8 miles in to just go ice fishing for the day.
Oof,
But
that's
in
a
this,
long hike to ice fish.
oh my God, I've done it, and I probably won't do it again.
That's more, I think, just to say you did it.
Exactly, yeah. Um, but I mean, I know some guys that absolutely refuse to ice fish, and all they do is, they bass fish and walleye fish spring, summer, and fall, and then in the wintertime they'll start carp fishing or they'll start trout fishing in some of these streams, and I don't know. You can really kind of do whatever you want. Bass fishing in spring is pretty good. We get a lot of actually big walleye come out of Colorado. I don't know how much anybody really hears about it, but we get 12, 13 pound walleye every year out of some of these lakes, and
Those are big
30 inch,
fish.
yeah, 30-inch walleye aren't unheard of in Colorado, and I don't know if that's anything people really think of either, but and of course those come down in some of our metro lakes and stuff down on the in the plains, but you can do whatever you want. It's kind of tough to pick and choose what you want to do. Um, like this year, I just devoted all year to pike fishing just because it's what I wanted to learn and figure out. But I mean, the year before that, it was a little bit of everything, and I don't know. It's really nice. We do have an awesome outdoor recreation opportunity out here.
Yeah. Did you grow up fishing, or when did you start really getting into it?
Um, I have pictures of me fishing that I don't even remember. I've been fishing. My favorite is I'm wearing like a Space Jam shirt and Space Jam shoes and Space Jam hat, and I got like three trout on a stringer. And I don't even know how old I am. But I mean, I really got into it the last 3 or 4 years. Going through middle school and high school, no one's really into it, and social culture is trying to get the best of you. And but after that, I kind of really picked back up into the outdoors and hunting and fishing and stuff. And thankfully, because looking on the freaking internet now, it's kind of ridiculous what's going on. But
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but
there's a
but yeah,
lot worse things you could be doing, that's for sure. I think for people like myself, if it wasn't for hunting and fishing, I would probably find much more destructive things to do with my time.
Yeah, exactly. I know I got in a lot of trouble when I wasn't hunting and fishing, and it's definitely kept me out of trouble and kept me focused on kind of the good things in life. Like I'd rather wake up with the world than stay up all night. I'd love seeing that sun come up and stuff like that. And I don't know, it shows you the side of the world that a lot of people don't give themselves to see. And you
Yeah.
know,
Well, a lot of people just forget that there really is anything out there besides society, besides what people have created and what you see on TV, and that's really not the whole picture. And when you get out there and you hunt and fish, you're a part of it, and you realize, oh, I actually live on this planet with all these other living things, and we all depend on each other. Where if you watch MTV all day and watch people's fake problems, you get caught up in that stuff.
yeah, no joke. I mean, there's so much stuff that goes on out in the woods that no one sees. That you know, you can try and take a picture of it. You can try and record the noises, or whatever, but you will never be able to experience that moment until you're like out there in it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. The things that I mean, every time I go out, I feel like I see something I've never seen before, and you kind of have to have an eye for things and learn, to pick up on seeing things in the woods. That's one thing I notice when, like, if I go out in the woods with my wife, or we're driving places, she just doesn't see wildlife. Doesn't notice them.
Yeah.
I think it's because I've spent so much time just intently looking for wildlife that it stands out much more.
Yeah, my girlfriend's the same way. She's always like, "How in the heck do you see those things? You're supposed to be watching the road."
Well, you got to watch what's going to run into the road too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colorado is definitely a special place. It's a place I plan to spend a lot more time, like you mentioned. I'm going elk hunting out there this this fall, so that'll be exciting. I'm definitely going to bring some fishing stuff though, because one, if we do get lucky enough to get an elk right off the bat, I'm not coming home. I'm gonna
Yeah.
definitely do some fishing, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll be camping close enough to a river we could catch some dinner too.
Yeah. If you guys are planning on going up in that area, I know some stuff. Actually, one of the state's best brown trout lakes is not very far from there. Maybe just an hour drive, which to me isn't far, but
No,
uh, you got to drive for everything in life.
especially out in Colorado. I mean, you might not be too terribly far distance wise, but if you got to go around the mountain, it makes it quite the hike.
Yeah, that's just it. It's so frustrating. I'll look on Google Maps. Um, I'll Google like directions to that lake that we were at just to see what traffic's like.
Hmm.
And that lake sits 60 miles from my house, but it takes me 140 to get there.
That's crazy.
It's so frustrating. It's like I just wish I could fly. And like where you're going elk hunting, that literally sits I think 24 miles from my house. But to get there, I have to go parallel the Continental Divide south, hit I-70, go west, and then parallel the Continental Divide back north, and to get up there, you know what I mean? But it,
Yeah.
it takes hours to go, something that a bird could beat you there
Oh yeah.
easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to get like one of those little like ultralight planes you can fly around or something.
That would be sweet. If I could choose a superpower, it would be transportation or teleportation.
Oh yeah, that'd be the best way to travel. I do a lot of driving here in Michigan too. I think that all the time. It's like having everything else on Star Trek and Star Wars has pretty much come true. We can have these computers we can touch and talk to and tell what to do. Where the heck are the transportation systems, the teleportation systems?
Oh, right. They're out there. Just wait.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. Crazy stuff's probably gonna happen in our life.
Oh, I know, right? It'd be ridiculous. But that's why we just gotta keep getting outdoors, kind of stay disengaged with some of that stuff, and
Exactly,
stay in touch with what's real.
for sure. Is there you got any other fun facts or interesting things that non-Coloridians, is that what you call yourself? Coloradians? Coloridians?
Um, Coloradans.
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 Non-Coloradans might not know.
Um, I'm trying to think. I'm sure I'll come up with something.
Guess that's kind of a tough question, but um,
I think a lot of our state is surface value. I think a lot of what's, and this can probably be said for a lot of places. A lot of the stuff that people see, people read is just the surface, There's so much more out here than just, you know, I think we have like 8,000 miles of river streams or something like that.
hmm.
Um, there's a little fact for you. I don't know. It's interesting out here.
Yeah, I feel like
There's
you could go on as many vacations as you wanted to there, and you'd still never scratch the surface.
Yeah, exactly. It's just marketing. Marketing on any state. Like, I don't hear much about Michigan besides a little bit of deer hunting and definitely steelhead. I hear stuff about steelhead in the Great Lakes, but I mean,
We have
to you, there's
the
worlds that go on out there.
yeah, I I'm I mean, maybe I'm biased because I live here, but I'd have to say Michigan's one of the best freshwater fisheries in the world in terms of numbers of species and numbers of good fish you can catch. Um, I think it should be better than it is, honestly, for how much water and rivers and lakes we have. It's I think it could be a lot better. Back to the management thing.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But we really manage things here in Michigan for just opportunity to get outdoors. So they really try, especially like with deer or trout. It's not always about having the most and the biggest. It's just about providing as many people as possible the opportunity. I don't know what the number of fishermen is in Michigan, but we're up there, if not the most, one of the highest for number of deer hunters in the state.
Hmm.
It's very ingrained in our DNA here. It's getting less and less though.
Yeah,
Like
and
with fishing as well. It's one thing that concerns me is when people stop fishing and they stop hunting, how are we going to pay to manage the resources then if we complain about it now?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of expose people to kind of what's should and maybe shouldn't be done, or um, what will and won't happen. Like if we do lose control of management on a lot of these national forests and stuff, they're never coming back.
Hmm.
You got to take the time now to think they're important before you realize they're important and you don't have them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one thing I'm trying to hopefully inspire some people with this is not there's a lot of people that fish, but they only bass fish or they only walleye fish or they only steelhead fish, and maybe they do a little bit here and there, but the more we can get many people doing many different types of outdoor activities, the more likely they are to share that with people too. And I mean, I'm guilty of going to Colorado, I think 4 times now without ever bringing a fishing pole or really thinking about it, just because, it's, I'm like, I won't have time to do it. But realistically, you could bring a fishing pole and, small tackle box in your luggage, and you could go somewhere and catch some fish and have an experience that you couldn't have in your home state if you're from the Midwest, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've actually started managing a river going through Denver now to have trout fishing and quality trout fishing, and they pull 20 inches out of that downtown Denver now.
Really?
And it's just due to people, exposing, the resource and proper management and education on, water temperatures and when not to fish it and stuff like that. And it really has grown a long way. Um, So I mean, a lot of that stuff just falls down to that kind of gist, I guess. But I
Yeah.
mean, kind of you're saying how Michigan wants to just give people the opportunity to get outside. That's kind of what Colorado does with elk hunting. I mean,
Yeah, I'd
we
agree with you there.
we recognize that we have probably one of the most healthy elk populations in maybe the United States as far as numbers go. Maybe not quality, but um, and we want people to come here and you know most people have to wait what 10 years to draw an elk tag in some of these states, but
Yeah.
um, Colorado puts it out there as come on over. Um, you may not get an elk, but you'll have the experience to go elk hunting.
Yeah,
And
and that's why I'm going there. There was a few states that I was looking at, but at the end of the day, Colorado was the most affordable, and it also, I mean, you have a great opportunity to actually get an elk. Maybe not a trophy, but if you're just going for the experience, it's a great place to go. I'm excited to get out there.
yeah, absolutely. And man, this state changes kind of come September. Any little town you go in is just welcome hunters, and it really does gear a lot of our little towns survive off of hunting season. No joke. I mean, there's processing plants in the town that aren't open, you know, 10 months out of the year, but they open up for hunting season, and they're cranking during hunting season, and that stuff brings a lot of revenue to the state and stuff like that. But I mean, more importantly, it's just a lot of people can come out here and get the chance to do it, which is awesome. And yeah, a lot of people won't come out here and put the effort necessary in, and that's okay. Take it as seriously as you want, but you still got to come out here and experience Colorado in the fall when all the leaves are changing, and hopefully got to hear an elk bugle or two. I mean, the experience, like you're talking about, is more valuable than going out there your first year and killing a trophy elk. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to go out there and have the chase. You want to spend time studying, and you don't want to just go out there and stumble upon something. You want to work for it, and that's definitely something that Colorado offers, is working for those elk. And man, you're gonna get out here and you're gonna be sweating and burning some calories, that's for sure.
I can use a little bit of that. I've been trying to get my butt in shape for when I get out there. I was struggling just walking up and down steps out there, let alone at 10,000 feet with a pack on my back. So yeah, I got to get on that.
Yeah, no, but you'll get acclimated and it'll be great. It'll be a good time.
Yeah,
But
it seems like it takes just like a couple days for your lungs to really get used to being at elevation, and then it's a lot better.
yeah, and a big thing out here is people get dehydrated more than they should. It's so dry out here, and whatever you want to chalk it off to. A lot of the altitude sickness that people get is kind of due to dehydration, actually.
I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
drink lots of water,
drink lots of water.
whether you're
Yeah,
hunting or fishing, especially in the summertime.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we're going on about an hour now. Um, I think I asked you just kind of all the general questions. I was just really trying to give people an idea for different opportunities and what Colorado offered. I think we did a good job of that. Um, Definitely do another one sometime and maybe talk about some ice fishing more or lake trout or something like that too.
Yeah, if you can come out, get a chance to come out here any time of year, there's always something to get on. So
Yeah, yeah. Same goes to you. If you ever want to come to Michigan and do some steelhead fishing, or come in the summertime and do some trolling for salmon, um, you're more than welcome to come out anytime.
yeah, absolutely. I was actually thinking about that the other day. I might have to make that a reality sooner than later.
And you can get plane tickets from Colorado directly to Grand Rapids for about $250 sometimes, which if you're coming by yourself is cheaper than driving.
Yeah, for sure. Way less stress.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it can go poorly. My wife, she didn't. They were supposed to get on their plane at like 6 o'clock or no, like 7:30 or something on Monday, and they ended up not getting out until like 2 o'clock in the morning. She didn't get home till 7 o'clock in the morning to our house. I was leaving work when she was coming home. So that is the downside of flying.
Yeah.
Is you have no control, but usually it works out.
Yeah, yeah, true.
All right. Well, you want to throw like your Instagram handle out so people can follow you and see all your fish, or would you rather not have
Sure.
anybody snooping on
Um,
you?
I don't got any cool catchy name. Just Rhett Feltman. Um, Always out fishing. That's my thing. I love to go fishing out here in Colorado, and yeah, give a follow. I mean, I'll probably show you some fish that are pretty cool, maybe.
I think so. I was showing all my friends before I was going out there. I was like, look at these fish. And they're like, where is that? I'm like, I don't know. We're gonna go try to find them though.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I promise next time you come out here, we'll be able to. I mean, not that the fishing was bad, but I'll get us on something that's better.
If that was bad fishing, I can't wait for good fishing.
Yes, exactly. Let's do it.
Um, it was phenomenal. I've been thinking about it every day, and I'm like, man, I should just kind of start watching for plane tickets, and if there's like really cheap ones on a weekend, just head back out there.
Yeah, and I'll pick you up.
I'll be out there soon enough, but definitely next year we'll make another trip out of it. It's a
Sweet.
great place
Yeah,
to go in the summertime. So
I'll be waiting. Well, I mean, thanks, Landon. Thanks for having me on and
yeah, no
chat.
problem. We'll do it again, and have a great night.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You as well.
Headed west on a Greyhound, just turned 21. Went to see what could be found beneath the western sun. Colorado bluebird sky, you can live a mile high. Colorado bluebird sky. Miles passed behind me with the things that I had done. Left behind so I could find a place where I could run. Colorado bluebird sky, you can live a mile high. Colorado bluebird sky. Woke up this morning, and the first thing I did see was mountains rising to the sky on every side of me. Waterfalls, canyon walls, when you're down on Main Street. Everybody that I meet, they all want to show me Colorado bluebird sky. You can live a mile high. Colorado bluebird sky.